The most dangerous century to be born as a human. Imagine being born into a world of constant fear, where every sunrise might bring famine, war, or plague. Welcome to the 17th century, a time so brutal historians call it the crisis of the 17th century. Europe was torn apart by the 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648, which left millions dead. Villages in ashes and fields empty. Disease followed hungry bellies. Crops failed, winters froze, and families starved. It was a century when babies had slim chances. Many children never saw their 10th birthday. Life was a never-ending nightmare. Today, we delve into why the 17th century was the most perilous time to be born. We'll walk through heartbreaking stories of courage, disasters that shaped history, and the tiny sparks of hope that lasted through the darkness. Stay with me. This story is scary, true, and shows how humans endure even the worst times. Imagine a newborn cradled not by lullabies, but by the sound of marching soldiers and burning villages. This was reality. The 30 Years' War raged like a dark wildfire. It wasn't just battlefields that suffered. Entire farmlands were trampled. Cities were looted, towns razed. Armies carried famine and fear in their wake. Civilians, especially the young, were caught in the crossfire. In parts of the Holy Roman Empire, up to 40% of the population vanished, many of them children. In northern Italy, the famine of 1629 to 1630 hit Milan hard. Hunger and disease struck in tandem, some areas losing nearly half their people. In France, the catastrophic famine of 1693 to 1694 gripped families with cold winters and failed harvests. Parents watched helplessly as infants faded away. But what fueled this? It was more than war. It was the climate. The Little Ice Age brought cooler temperatures, shortened growing seasons, and shortened lifespans. Global cooling triggered crop failures, economic collapse, and widespread hunger. The dominoes fell fast. Babies, already delicate, were the first to suffer. These scenes were common from Germany to Italy to France. Yet amid the horror, families did what they could. Mothers cradled starving babies, singing old lullabies. Villagers shared their last grain. In despair, human kindness flickered like a single candle in total darkness. Now, imagine a tiny cradle in 17th century London. Outside, the streets were dark with danger from the plague. To be a baby was to breathe in fear. The Great Plague of 1665 killed 68,000, almost 20% of the city. Death came fast. Fever and buboes meant you had days left. In Spain, the Great Plague of Seville, 1647 to 1652, killed 150,000. Overall, Spain lost 5% of its population to plague. Babies couldn't escape. Their immune systems were powerless. This was everywhere. People turned to prayers and bizarre remedies. They called it spotted death for its terrifying marks. Yet, in the shadows, glimmers of hope appeared. Nurses shared food, cloaked figures delivered medicine, and families clung together. One small hospital in Milan became a haven where mothers tended to sick infants, whispering lullabies full of hope. A warm hand, a whispered promise, these brought light into sorrow. Now picture a baby born in a cottage surrounded by frozen fields. The sky was gray, the earth too cold for seeds. From 1560 to 1660, Europe suffered the harshest phase of the Little Ice Age. It crushed crops and hope. Historians call this the general crisis, when climate change sparked famine, war, and disease. Take Estonia in the 1690s. Rain drowned the fields in summer. By winter, the ground was frozen. Between 1/5 and 1/4 of the population died, many infants and children. In Scotland's 7 ill years, 1695 to 1699, up to 25% of people in places like Aberdeenshire died. Parents watched little children fade from hunger. It was the perfect storm. Wars blocked grain, taxes soared, and cold pushed families to the edge. Babies cried in cold cradles, their hands stiff. Yet people fought to survive. Families dug for buried grain, begged neighbors, traded heirlooms for kernels. Mothers wrapped babies in every scrap of cloth. Villagers boiled tree bark for broth. When the world chilled them to the bone, small fires of care and love flickered in broken homes. Now close your eyes. Picture a cold, smoky room. A tiny baby lies swaddled in tattered cloth. Outside, the world is mad. Farms ruined, disease whispered, winters biting. Yet in that fragile bundle, hope grows. Infant mortality was heartbreakingly high. About 1 in 5 babies died before their first birthday. But in the worst years, stories of survival sparkled. In Estonia, a mother wrapped her child in every scrap, warming him with whispered songs. Neighbors shared a stale loaf. That baby sometimes survived, a symbol of resilience. In Scotland, communities banded together. Elders passed on hidden grain, kneaded it into mush, and fed starving children by candlelight. In war-torn Germany, baptismal registers show babies named after hopeful saints or words meaning light and hope. One father named his newborn Elisabetta, meaning God's promise. She lived, a defiant spark. These tiny heroes remind us that even when the world closes in, compassion cracks open a space for new life. We've walked through a century of fire, famine, plague, and frost. Why care? Because those dark days shaped who we are and taught us what humans can do when all seems lost. The facts speak. Across 17th century Europe, at least 1 in 5 children died before their first birthday. In harsher times, it was 30 to 40%. London was an urban graveyard. This isn't just a statistic, it represents broken families and dreams cut short. The Great Famine of Estonia, 1695 to 1697, left 1/5 of the population dead, 70,000 to 75,000 people, many children. In Finland, some areas lost 30%. These were real lives. So what do we learn? Resilience matters. When people huddled together, shared bread, and offered warmth, they kept hope alive. Tiny acts of kindness saved lives. Understanding our past lights our path. We now know good nutrition, clean water, and simple medicine drastically reduce infant deaths. Today, in wealthy countries, infant mortality is under 1%. That's progress built on centuries of suffering. Humanity's spirit is stronger than disaster. Babies survived wars, plagues, and famines. Today's challenges, climate change, pandemics, are serious, but history tells us compassion adapted and prevailed. We are here because people survived before us. Their courage matters. Their stories inspire us to build a better tomorrow. If this journey moved you, please subscribe so more hidden histories come to light. Like if you believe small acts of care can change the world. Comment with which story touched you most. Thank you for watching. Remember, even in the darkest chapters, tiny sparks of hope can light the way.